Hey everyone, Ginger Soda here, and today I want to talk about Elder Scrolls Online, more commonly known as ESO. It was Bethesda's first attempt at an MMORPG, um, and its launch was very similar to Fallout 76's. Now, the reason why that matters for this video is because I really wanted to talk about, not necessarily make a comparison video between Elder Scrolls Online and Fallout 76, but instead look at Bethesda's record with launches of these types of games. And when we go back and look at the launch for Elder Scrolls Online, while similar to Fallout 76, it didn't have tremendous sales. It was decent. Um, it did have a very similar issue regarding endgame content and some bug issues. Now, Fallout 76 had much worse bug issues overall, mainly due to the fact that, both games are using the creation engine, but the Fallout games tend to have been more demanding of the engine in comparison to Elder Scroll games. The overall Fallout 76 had a lot buggier of a launch, whereas Elder Scroll Online's main issue was endgame content, which was also an issue with Fallout 76. And when you want to look at these MMORPGs, I feel like it's important to look at the predecessors. For Elder Scrolls Online, you had Skyrim, and for Fallout 76, you had Fallout 4. Now, what I really feel like was going on here was that Todd Howard, or otherwise known as God Howard, was trying to, maximize on the popularity of these iconic franchises, which for Skyrim and Fallout 4 were the most successful selling titles, as well as the most recent titles. Now, with Elder Scrolls Online, following after Skyrim is going to be such a hard thing to do. Because for a lot of Bethesda fans and a lot of the RPG community, Skyrim is probably one of Bethesda's best games ever. And I feel like that helped Elder Scrolls Online in a certain sense, as it had great mechanics to build off of. Although while things aren't exactly the same, overall it's a very similar, like, stylistic game. Like, they look very, very similar, which I feel works very, very well for Elder Scrolls Online. And when you want to look at the sales for Skyrim, which at this point in 2022 has sold over 30 million copies, and while supposedly Fallout 4 has sold more, we don't have an exact number, just knowing that it had an exceptional launch. But Elder Scrolls Online really capitalized on that, coming out probably just about 2 to 3 years after Skyrim released, which was plenty of time for a majority of people to make it through the game, except for me, cough cough, video coming soon. And like, the Elder Scrolls as a whole has a very is a very household name, with people having played games like Oblivion and Morrowind, and Skyrim, prior to Elder Scrolls Online. You use the properties and the titles, and you kind of created hype around games that are yet to come out, simply because it comes from that same strand of games, which is exactly what Elder Scrolls Online and Fallout 76 were trying to capitalize on. And I feel like overall, Elder Scrolls Online has done a much better job. I feel like it's a lot less buggy of a game. It doesn't have the same balancing issues that Fallout 76 has, with certain weapons and legendary effects being extremely overpowered. It's a lot more balanced, mellowed out. But I also feel like it has a lot more content for players to do. A lot more. A lot of it's due to the fact that you have the different classes that can be played out with the different abilities. It really works in the favor of where it kind of sticks along like traditional MMORPG things. When you look at World of Warcraft or Guild Wars, it kind of sticks to that template, which suits it really well, which means even players that aren't familiar with the Elder Scrolls Online titles are interested in playing this game, because it's kind of another unique twist on what are some of the most popular MMORPGs are. Graphically, I would say it looks better than World of Warcraft, yet it has a lot of the similar features with the different classes, but it also has a different story, which is also intriguing for people that have played the previous Elder Scrolls games. This Elder Scrolls Online takes place prior to a majority of them, from what I'm aware of. and it kind of allows for a new world to be built. There's been about 5 major DLCs that have expansions, or whatever you want to call them, that have come out since the launch of the game. And as far as I've seen, it's been extremely well received. It's added a lot of content for people to participate in, which is one of the primary gripes with Fallout 76, is the fact that there is not a lot of overall content. You kind of get stuck in that endless gameplay loop, which I'm sure happens in Elder Scrolls Online. I've yet to reach what would be considered the end game. But, yeah, that's primarily where Elder Scrolls seems to have the upper hand on Fallout 76, with a lot more content. But again, the game is about 5 years older, so it's had a lot more opportunity to get the new and additional content. And I'm still fairly new to Elder Scrolls Online, so I'm not really sure exactly how the whole community feels about Elder Scrolls Online, or ESO, whatever you want to call it. So I could be saying the wrong things, but from what I've seen and the research I've done, is that it's a lot more well received than Fallout 76 was, although it did have some similar issues at launch with lack of end game content, some bugs, a little bit of balancing issues, but nothing quite as bad as what we still have in Fallout 76, where they can't seem to properly balance anything. They're just now removing legacies multiple years into the game. Skyrim doesn't really, or Skyrim, sorry, Elder Scrolls Online does not seem to have that same issue, which honestly has me really excited to get into the game, as I plan on doing, which is kind of surprising because Fallout 76 does have its new DLC coming out soon, Nuka World on Tour, which I need to play that as well. But yeah. So when I look at ESO and Fallout 76, and I went on and looked at the Steam player counts, Fallout 76 is averaging about 8,000 players a month, whereas ESO is averaging over 13,000 players a month, which is kind of odd to me, because maybe it's just because of the part of the internet I'm on and the stuff that it's catered towards me, but I've always seen Fallout 76 content, and I haven't really noticed as much success with Elder Scrolls Online content. And I don't know whether it's again, as I was saying, if it's just because I'm not seeing it, because it's not what I've been wanting to see. Although I do get Skyrim content and other Elder Scroll titles, as well as previous Fallout. Like, I'm not really sure exactly why I haven't seen so much ESO content. Mainly the only content I've ever seen has been Kev do it, and he no longer makes consistent content on Fallout 76 or ESO. Yet he's still the primary content that is presented to me. So I'm not sure about that. But my point of bringing that up is that, ESO is better, is a game that is much better than I thought it was. And I don't really want to make this a complete comparison video, because Fallout 76 and ESO are very different types of MMORPGs. They have different goals, they have different styles, they have different gameplay aspects. They're really not meant to be compared side by side, I feel like. I do feel like it's important to, when we look at the launches for these games and how they had similar issues, though. Bethesda, they don't seem to give up on their games. They have kept providing content for ESO and Fallout 76, but it seems like they both have the same issue with not enough content. So what it comes across to me is that Bethesda tries to push these games out, and then invest more time into them later. And obviously, to each their own. But I personally prefer for there to be, a lot for me to do at the start, instead of a lot of waiting for me to do. A game like New World, another MMORPG, had a similar issue where at launch you kind of got stuck in this endless gameplay loop, which happens with a lot of MMORPGs. It's something that I see a lot of people complain about, but it's also something that's kind of like a part of what the game is. Like, it's a part of its style, it's a part of the gameplay mechanics for games like that, is that you get kind of stuck in this endless cycle. But I feel like there's proper ways to balance it. Elder Scrolls Online, and many other MMORPGs have some form of dungeon, expedition, something like that. That's some additional endgame content for you to complete and play over and over again, that's supposed to be challenging and give you challenging rewards. Fallout 76 doesn't have that, which is a part of the issue with the game. Even though I will say this now, I love Fallout 76, and I have very much started to love Elder Scrolls Online as I've gotten more and more into it. It's just it's hard for me as a player of these games to kind of see it turn the way it's turned into. So yeah, that's gonna be this one. That's gonna be it for this one. I do hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe. I hope everyone has a happy holidays, and I'll see you in the next one.